And now on talkSPORT Extra Time, something for the weekend. 3 film choices from me, 3 from Van Connor. Big screen action on the small screen in your front room or in your den or in your bedroom or wherever you want to watch your television, courtesy of me, Paul Ross and Van Connor. Good morning, Van, and how are you, sir?
I'm always happy to hear from you, Mr. Ross, and even happier when we get to talk about amazing movies. So...
And you're starting with an action cracker, 9 o'clock tonight and 5-star. Keanu Reeves as one John Wick.
Yes, indeed. I mean, what is there left to say about John Wick? I mean, it's been 6-7 years now since the first John Wick movie, and it remains not only the best of its series, but an absolute stone cold classic of the genre. I mean, what's to really go into? Most people have seen it, but I think everyone enjoys seeing it again, and it's the timeless story of a man with a dog, and he has an axe to grind. And I'll just leave you with the perfect clip to sum that up.
Here we go.
When Ellen died, I lost everything. Until that dog arrived on my doorstep. A final gift from my wife. In that moment, I received some semblance of hope. An opportunity to grieve unalone. And your son took that from me. Stole that from me. Killed that from me! People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
Whoa, back as a stone-cold killer assassin. I interviewed Keanu when John Wick 2 came out, and, he's in amazing shape for a guy who's now in his early 50s. But between interviews, and we all know what those junket things are like, you get 8, 9, 10 minutes with him, and then there's a 5 minute. He was doing alternate one-armed push-ups, because he's in absolutely incredible shape. Great action movie, this, and I'm going to go recommending for this afternoon earlier. It's at that slightly odd time, 3:35 p.m. this afternoon. It's on Film 4, then catch it an hour later on Film 4+1, from 1953, a George Stevens masterpiece. It's got Van Heflin, it's got Jack Palance, but it's got Alan Ladd as Shane. I love this film. It's a great Western. Let's have the trailer.
George Stevens, creator of such masterpieces as Giant and his Academy Award-winning A Place in the Sun, enlarges the scope of the screen with a motion picture whose monumental background is matched by the stature of its moving human drama. Drama that began when a mysterious stranger rode in from out of nowhere to play a decisive role in the lives of these rugged pioneers.
You call me Shane.
Shane, who attracted the woman with his quiet strength, who fascinated the boy with the glint of his gun.
We'd all be much better off if there wasn't a single gun left in this valley.
A gun is as good or bad as the man using it.
From the clash of elemental forces, George Stevens has created a motion picture unforgettable for its spectacle and scope, its great human story, its deadly conflict.
I've heard about you. What have you heard, Shane? I've heard that you're a low-down Yankee liar.
Jack Palance and Alan there. Jack Palance giving a great band. It's such a great film, this. It's Brandon DeWild plays the young boy. It's also about kind of fatherhood and role models. And what I'd forgotten was, I read the novel years ago. The novel was quite contemporary. It was only written in 1949 by a man called Jack Schaefer. So while it's quite a good traditional Western, it's got some kind of modern undercurrents. It's a great film, this, though, Van, isn't it?
It really is. They don't make them like they used. So the thing with me with this one is I remember literally the first film I ever reviewed in any form whatsoever was a film called The Negotiator in 1998 with Samuel L. Jackson and Kevin Spacey. And this comes up as a plot point, and that's how I discovered Shane. So this has a special place in my heart forever, and I absolutely love this movie. It's a movie with a kind of one of those brilliant endings that you can read two ways, although you can read it very obviously on a simplistic level, or if you want to be very complex about it, read it on another level. Yeah. And it's just a wonderful film, and you read about the production on this, how it was apparently cast in a couple of minutes. Yeah. Like this came down to an on-the-spot decision, and within 3 minutes, apparently they cast the 3 leads. And it's just a beautiful film. It's a wonderful film that I think you can revisit every few years, and it still holds up.
Well, you can revisit it at 3:35 this afternoon on Film 4. It's also got the wonderful Elisha Cook Jr., who's so good in Maltese Falcon, as a kind of slightly frightened, shy Eye, Scaredy Cat Homestead, a great film. And you've got an interesting recommendation for us for tomorrow night on Film 4, 11:15, Train to Busan. Tell us about that, Van.
So, Train to Busan, this is a film our mutual friend, Mr. Johnny Hearn, initially recommended me. I think he saw this about 2 weeks before and this is a South Korean movie about a father in a broken marriage who's transporting his daughter from one city to Busan. I think it's from Seoul in South Korea to Busan. And he happens to board her on the train, the fancy South Korean mega train that we couldn't possibly imagine in the UK.
Yeah.
And he does all of this as the zombie apocalypse breaks out.
Oh, wow.
And yes.
I haven't heard of this. I'm looking forward to this tomorrow night, Film 4.
You've absolutely got to. We haven't got a clip because obviously this is entirely in South Korean. But it's an absolutely amazing film. Great performances. Brilliant action. It doesn't skimp on the gore. It doesn't skimp on the violence. It doesn't skimp on the heart or the emotion either. Genuinely wonderful film. One that you absolutely have to watch. And I say that the week that Parasite opens in cinemas. And Parasite, also a South Korean film, which will probably win Best International Picture at the very least on Sunday night, is amazing. This, for my money, second best South Korean movie of this decade.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, in fact, Van Connor and Rebecca Perfect are with us through the early hours of Monday morning. We're covering the Oscars. In fact, you could call them the Roscars for Monday morning. So no clip for Train to Busan. My second movie recommendation, one of my favourite films of all time. It was voted by Sight and Sound, the big cinema publication, in 2012 as the 7th best film of all time. Based on a novel, again a recent novel for the time, only published in 1954 by a man called Alan LeMay. It's The Searchers from 1956. It's John Wayne. It's Jeffrey Hunter. It's a very young and beautiful Natalie Wood, and it's one of John Ford's masterpieces. Here's the trailer.
From the thrilling pages of life rides a man you must fear and respect. A man whose unconquerable will and boundless determination carved a lusty, rough, and boisterous slice of history called The Searchers. It's John Wayne as Ethan Edwards, who had a rare kind of courage. The courage that simped on, far beyond all reasonable endurance, never thinking of himself as martyred, never thinking of himself as brave.
So we'll find him in the end, I promise you. We'll find him.
Here is the story of a man, hard and relentless, tender and passionate, of people who dared to challenge a hostile land. Here is drama of great love and aching loneliness.
I found him. I found Lucy.
What you saw was a buck wearing Lucy's dress. I found Lucy back in the canyon.
What was she?
What do you want me to do? Draw you a picture? Spell it out? Don't ever ask me. As long as you live, don't ever ask me more.
And if you don't hear my first holler, you better read my mind, because I don't aim to raise no two hollers on any subject at hand.
Yes, sir.
Boy, watch that knife.
It's a great film. Just to set it up for people, of course, John Wayne, the character John Wayne's niece is abducted by Native Americans, and he spends decades, it seems, certainly well over 10, 12, 13 years, trying to hunt her down, track her down, and you don't quite know how it's going to be resolved, but this is an absolute masterpiece again, though, Van, isn't it?
No, it absolutely is. I say this as someone who's worked with Eamon Holmes, so I've been schooled in the cinema of John Wayne.
Of course. 3 or 4 times
over, to be fair. This is genuinely one of his master works.
Yeah.
This is John Wayne at his absolute prime. I'm glad you mentioned as well that Jeffrey Hunter is in it, because I always feel the need to point that out about this movie. Like, Jeffrey Hunter, the original Captain Pike.
Yeah.
This was one of his... Yeah, this was one of his stars. And obviously, Jeffrey Hunter was very thanklessly regarded for his Star Trek role for many decades, until I think it was about 11 years ago when they finally reinvented that character, and it's now been reinvented twice in the past decade.
That's a great
It's been brilliant both times.
Great thing to have in your CV. And for Sunday morning, again, another masterpiece. I'm often asked by people, they sometimes say, what are your 10 best goals of all time? What 5 CDs would you take if you were kind of on a desert island? I'm often asked what are my 10 favourite films. Well, they vary, but I've always got 3 in the top 5. And one is The Wild Bunch, one is Singing in the Rain, and the other one is on 10 to 11 Sunday morning. and there's a Sony Movies Plus one on Sony Movies. It is, to my mind, David Lean's masterpiece. It is, and I know you love this film. Folks, you've got to catch this if you've not seen it for a couple of years. It's only Lawrence of Arabia.
The English have a great hunger for desolate places. They hunger for Arabia. I think you are another of these desert-loving English.
I've been seconded to the Arab Bureau. Of course I'm the man for the job. What is the job, by the way?
Have you no fear English?
My fear is my concern.
We need a miracle.
They hope to gain their freedom. I'm going to give it to them.
The man who gets victory in battle is prized beyond every other man.
It's going to be fun.
Although you have got Sir Alec Guinness as King Faisal, Anthony Quinn also playing an Arab character, it was for its time remarkable in that it made huge stars, not just of Peter O'Toole as Lawrence of Arabia, but of Omar Sharif, of course, I think as one of Faisal's sons. It's an absolute epic masterpiece, this film.
It absolutely is. And as your clip eloquently points out as well, Maurice Jarre's score is just one of the most memorable things about it. So I remember the score for this film more than I remember the film, to be honest, because the film is a long one. Yeah. And obviously, for me, it's been around my whole life, and then, like, for most of my parents' lives as well, like, for all of your life, I'd imagine, as well. It's just one of those films that's just such a piece of cinema history. But that score, that score's the thing you always take away from it. Also, like you say, the entrance of Omar Sharif.
The greatest entrance in cinema history, that is, without a shadow of a doubt, for a character as an actor. And what a way to announce yourself on the world stage as a superstar. It won 7 Oscars. It's on 10 to 11 Sunday morning on Sony Movies. There's also a Sony Movies Plus one. Before we get your final film recommendation, Van, I want to put out a bit of a warning. There was a film on the Horror Channel, 3 o'clock in the afternoon Sunday, called San Andreas Megaquake. It was made for like 70 pence in a rubber soap. It's not the San Andreas you are recommending, though, is it? Because yours is on ITV2, 20 to 7, with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock.
Well, it's funny you asked that, because I'm actually quite a big, like, scholastic proponent of what we now call the mockbuster.
Yeah.
This is the idea that when there is a blockbuster on the scene, a lower rent label, we shall put it politely, will produce a knockoff. So let's say that New Line put out Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
Then the Asylum can happily release Snakes on a Train.
Perfect.
It's exactly that idea. And if you've got films that are in the public domain, so like Thor or Sherlock Holmes, this opens you up to all sorts of wonderful ideas. However, we're not talking about that.
In fact, I've had a couple you could do for Tarantino: Reservoir Frogs and Pulp Fiction.
I don't want to ask on air what Pulp Friction might involve.
Steady.
I don't want to,
no.
But I feel like next time we'll have a drink, we'll talk about it first.
Okay, we'll talk about it Monday when we're going through the Oscars, Monday morning in the early hours with Rebecca Perfect as well. But tell us about San Andreas before we hear the clip.
So, San Andreas, Dwayne Johnson, there's an earthquake. It's to be honest, it's a 21st century reinvention of the Charlton Heston earthquake movie. But in this incarnation, Dwayne Johnson, obviously, emergency services rescue. He's also a helicopter pilot. He wears very tight-fitting Under Armour shirts, and he's going to go bouncing from some crevices. I've got a clip for you of Paul Giamatti explaining just what's going on with these earthquakes.
Have a listen.
They knew LA was going to get hit, but nobody listened to them. It's time now to listen. Go ahead, Doctor.
Okay, in seismology terms, what we're experiencing is what we call a swarm event. Basically, California's entire tectonic plate is shifted. People need to know that the shaking is not over, and it's not aftershocks I'm talking about. San Francisco will get hit again, and it's going to be a bigger monster this time. Our models are predicting a 9.5 or greater. It will be so big that even though it's happening here in California, you will feel it on the East Coast.
See, now, Sam Stevens, our producer, just said in my he's seen this, and although it's kind of rubbish, it's good rubbish, because Dwayne Johnson makes this kind of film good, doesn't he?
Oh, he absolutely does. I mean, Sam's absolutely right. It is rubbish, but good rubbish. And you know this from the very last minute of the film, in which, because obviously it's a disaster movie, you know, certain people have to survive, certain people have to die. But there is a moment in which, at the very end, someone asked Dwayne Johnson, what do we do now? Whilst the American flag flaps behind him in slow motion, and he flexes and he says, we rebuild.
Whoa!
And it's just absolutely amazing. That's what Dwayne Johnson's there for, people.
Brilliant stuff. And Connor there, the main man, he was talking to me there from a railway station somewhere in the UK. You could hear the trains coming and going. Very grateful for the pleasure of his company. And he's with me from midnight-ish on Sunday night into Monday morning throughout the night as we cover the Oscars absolutely live, as well as all your sporting information from a fantastic weekend. Game down the way tomorrow, of course. You've got movie recommendations now for the weekend. You, my friends, are sourced.